I've always loved the Scream movies, ever since I was a kid. I always thought they were a fun concept that everybody took too seriously. But not after what happened a week ago. I'll never watch those movies again. My date and I were headed to the movies. Windows down, music playing loudly. It was a night to remember. I pulled into a parking space and helped Steph out of the car, linking arms as we walked into the theater. We were headed to watch a horror movie. Scream, of course. The lights were dimmed and people had taken their seats. Suddenly, I felt Steph stiffen beside me.
I just saw someone in a Scream mask lurking behind us.
Don't be like that, Steph. You're just getting scared and you want to leave.
No, seriously. There's a guy in a Scream mask right behind you, Johnny. Turn around. Come on.
Forget it, Steph. You're not going to trick me.
I can't with you.
She laughed and seemed to give up on getting me to turn around. As the movie began, however, I couldn't help but turn around a bit, just to see what Steph was talking about. In the top row of the theater was a man wearing a Scream outfit and holding a large silver knife. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up as I looked at him. He was looking straight at us and laughing. I started laughing as I looked at him. I couldn't help it. I turned to Steph and whispered to her, "Come on, Steph, that's just a cosplayer. You know, a fan of the movie."
A cosplayer?
Yeah, it's someone who dresses up as a character they really like. You know, nerd stuff. He's about as dangerous as a D&D player. Suddenly, we heard screams coming from the back row. Ah! We both spun around and saw a bloody body lying on the floor, and the man in the Scream mask standing right next to it, his knife covered in blood. I jumped out of my seat and grabbed Steph's hand, and we ran towards the exit. We reached the door, but it was locked. We shouted for help, but all we heard were screams coming from outside. Suddenly, the door opened, but it wasn't someone who had come to help us. It was another man wearing a Scream mask. We ran back up the stairs and barricaded ourselves in the projection room.
What's going on? Johnny, what's happening?
I don't know, Steph. Just help me put this chair in front of the door. We heard a loud crash followed by several bangs on the door. The man with the knife had broken down the door and was advancing on us. Suddenly, a sharp blade flew through the air and cut Steph's throat open. I screamed and ran to her, tears streaming from my eyes. No! No, Steph! But before I could do anything, there was another blade coming at me. I dodged it and ran out of the window. I ran out of the theater, ignoring the body strewn over the floor as I did. I had to escape. I jumped in my car and turned the key to start it. I drove right to the nearest police station and reported what had happened. The police came to investigate, and when they got there, the theater was empty. All that remained were the bodies of Steph and the other people there. Come with us, son. We have some questions for you. What? For me? What do you want me to say? We just have to make sure you didn't have any motive. You have the right to remain silent. I was taken away, my heart racing as they interrogated me. Eventually, however, they grudgingly let me go and I drove away with relief. Still, I felt a cold, piercing pain in my heart as I thought of Steph. As I was driving home, I realized there was a way to solve this mystery. Security footage. If the killer had been caught on camera, he could finally be brought to justice. Yes, I can get them. I can get revenge. My heart raced with excitement, but that quickly turned to terror as I saw a car with dark windows following me. I stepped on the gas and tried to lose them, and I was almost safe when suddenly I felt a bump behind me. There was no use. They had caught up with me. I crashed the car and tried to make a run for it, but I slipped and fell. As I turned around, I saw another man in a Scream mask walking towards me. This is the end, I thought. Until out of nowhere, a police car appeared. Get down! This is the police! The man in the Scream mask turned and began to run, but the police were quick. He was immediately tackled and arrested. Apparently, the police thought the killer would want to finish the job, and they were right, I guess. Still, there's something that's been bugging me, and I'm not really sure if I'll ever get over it. The killer they caught was a nasty man. A serial killer who had been inspired by the Scream movies and had been terrorizing movie theaters around the country. Steph and all of those people in the theater are dead because some maniac wanted to live out his own horror movie. And I can't help but feel guilty. I'll never watch a Scream movie again. That's not the only thing that's been bugging me, though. And the other thing is even scarier. The police did manage to apprehend the man in the Scream mask, but there were 2 at the theater. And if the man had wanted to finish the job, then what about the other one? I'm petrified at the thought of them still out there, waiting for their next opportunity. And what if they're still after me, trying to finish the job?
I recently went to watch Scream 6 alone. I booked a corner seat with an orange Slurpee. It was a late night show, so there was a handful of people in the movie theater. My eyes were hooked on the screen when I saw this girl sitting in the same row. She was highly overweight and had a tub of popcorn on her lap. The way she was eating, it gave me yuck. Her mouth opened into a black hole and she tossed thousands of popcorns in each bite. Some popcorn fell on her lap, some on her stained t-shirt. A few were even hanging on her locks, but nothing stopped her from eating. Suddenly, a skinny man came and sat beside her, and this is when things started to get weirder. The skinny dude looked like a stick beside a blob of flesh. Together, they were unimaginable, and so was their conversation. Do you want more?
Yes, yes! Give me more!
But it won't be free.
I will do anything!
But I don't think you'll be able to do that. The girl started stomping her feet like a 9-year-old.
No, I can! I will! Just feed me!
A cruel smile appeared on the man's face. He took out a candy bar from his pocket and started swinging it in front of the girl's face. The moment the girl saw it, her eyes went wide. Her mouth started to drool. She took out her tongue and started panting like a dog. What the hell is happening with these two? I was feeling extremely uncomfortable, yet couldn't help but watch them. The man leaned onto her and I guess he kissed her. Once he was done, he gave her the candy bar. The girl ate it like a hungry walrus. It was clear to me that this man was taking advantage of the girl using her weakness for food. During the interval, they both got up and the man said, "Let's go somewhere where we can be alone."
Will there be food?
Yes. Just come. They got up to leave and I decided to follow them. I wanted to help the girl if the man gave her any trouble. I watched them walk to the parking lot. The man and the girl got into a red pickup van and drove away. I was behind them in my scooter, maintaining a safe distance. After 5 minutes, they stopped near a graveyard. Really? A graveyard? The skinny dude is a hell of a creep. It took time for the girl to get down from the car. I heard the man yell, "Come on! Move your heap of flesh faster!" They entered the graveyard. I parked my scooter behind a bush and followed them. The man sat down under a tree and asked the girl to sit beside him, but for the first time, she refused him.
Where are my chicken nuggets? You said you had chicken nuggets!
I said you'll get it once you make me happy.
No! Give me my chicken nuggets first!
The man lost his temper. I didn't bring such a loser like you here to just feed your pathetic self. Now sit here and do what you're supposed to.
I'm leaving. You are mean.
She turned to leave, but the man grabbed her hand. She pushed him away and the dude fell like a twig. Realizing the girl is stronger than him, he got furious. He grabbed a stone from the ground and came at her. "I'll kill you, you witch!" I couldn't remain quiet anymore. I jumped from the bush, screaming, "Amy, he's behind you!" What happened next was not planned. Amy turned back and grabbed the man's arm with which he was holding the stone. Then she started twisting it.
Do you know what my favorite sound is?
Ah! Let me go! Leave me, you giant!
The sound of bones cracking.
Amy broke his arm and the man let out a spine-chilling scream. Ah! He fell to the ground with terror in his eyes. He looked at me.
Who are you? How do you know her?
This is when I couldn't pretend anymore. I mean, he's about to die anyway, so it would be wrong to lie to a dying man. I grinned and took out a big lollipop from my pocket. I looked at Amy and said, "You know what to do next, sis? Do you want my help?"
Is that for me?
I don't know. Do you want it?
I do.
Her tongue came out just like a loyal pet dog, and she began to drool.
What is wrong with you two? She's your sister?
I slapped the man hard on his right cheek. Oh, so now something is wrong with us? What about you, you skinny freak? What was in your mind when you agreed to go on a movie date with a giant? Huh? You're so pathetic that you prey on girls like her, thinking she will fall into your lap because she would have no self-esteem? Isn't that what you thought?
Please, let me go! I'll never—
It's too late for you now, Mr. Slenderman!
I threw the lollipop at Amy and she grabbed it with her teeth. Amy, put him to sleep. I'll check his car for valuables we can sell tomorrow. 3 robberies in 1 week. Not bad. If you keep helping me like this, I promise I'll buy you the biggest fridge in the world and fill it with all your favorite foods.
I will help you. I want to help.
Amy shifted her burning eyes to the man. The man started to crawl back, screaming for help.
No, please! Let me go! Please! No!
I came back to the red pickup van and made everything mine. The man's scream faded into the dark sky and Amy came back. Her clothes were stained in blood, but her entire attention was on the lollipop. I put my little sister in the passenger seat and left the scooter behind the bush. It was also stolen, so no harm. As we drove into the empty highway, Amy asked,
Will we go back to the same movie theater tomorrow?
I caressed her cheek and nodded yes. Wow, that was scary! Hi, my name is Alex, and that video you just saw wasn't just from a random haunted movie theater. It's the place that just hired me. It's no coincidence that I got a job there. I'm a big fan of the paranormal, and that place is known to be haunted, so no one wants to take the vacancy. I, for one, am a big fan of the occult, so I couldn't pass up that opportunity. You could say that my first day on the job was almost my last, as the day didn't start off well at all. That day, I was cleaning the aisles of the cinema when I heard a voice calling me from one of the rooms. Alex. I approached slowly. My first half hour at work and I was already being called by a spirit. I took out my cell phone and started filming. At that moment, I was very scared, and with every step I took towards where that voice was coming from, it made my skin crawl. I got closer and closer, so much so that I could already feel the breath of the person who was talking to me. I wanted to turn back, but I couldn't regret it now. Boo! Ah! As I looked in the direction of that noise, it wasn't a ghost. It was a coworker wearing an Annabelle mask. Other employees came out of their hiding places laughing loudly and welcomed me. After that, I wasn't so scared anymore. I continued sweeping alone until suddenly, a voice called me over the loudspeakers telling me to go to the boss's room. When I got there, I found MacLeod, the owner of the movie theater. He seemed to be a grumpy and impatient man. He was furious when I asked him if there were any ghosts, and he told me it was all bullshit. After that, he sent me to clean only the movie theaters, and that's when it all happened. I started cleaning the back room, an empty room. Everything was going well, but something started to bother me. A strange metallic smell was spreading throughout the room. From one second to the next, the temperature dropped so low it was almost unbearable. I looked up and saw a boy in front of me. Had he snuck in? I chased him to the main screen, but in the blink of an eye, the boy had disappeared. Before I could react, the projector in the room turned on and started projecting a black and white movie. I turned around to see it, and it wasn't any film in the wallet. It was tapes of horrible, uncensored torture. This was definitely a joke in bad taste. I turned around angrily and automatically fell to the floor in terror. Every seat in the room was taken. All the people in the seats were in black and white, wearing odd clothes. But the strangest thing was that they were glitching, as if they were part of an old movie. I walked slowly towards the exit door. All those people were following me with their eyes, with glaring red eyes that shone like lights and contrasted with their black and white bodies. When I reached the exit door, I opened it slowly, but something interrupted me. Next to me was a shadowy person almost 6 feet tall. The person with a hazmat suit used to combat radiation grabbed me by the hair and dragged me back to the center of the screen, where it released me. As I watched, the person in the hazmat suit took off the helmet, and behind it, there was a woman in black and white, but something was wrong with her face. Half of it was burned off. You could see pieces of flesh and even a skull. It was as if she had a horrible acid accident. Without the slightest contemplation, the woman pulled out a small scalpel and threw herself on top of me. When I tried to react, it was too late. The woman was cutting open my belly and pulling out all my guts while the audience watched in amazement and applauded. Suddenly, the door opened violently and someone came walking towards where I was. It was my boss.
Sir, run! The ghosts are real!
Oh, I was looking for you.
Out of nowhere, my boss grabbed the disfigured woman's face and pulled her close to his. The man began to kiss the girl passionately. As he turned around and looked back at me, something in him had changed. His lips were disintegrated, and there was a huge hole in his throat as if he had swallowed lava.
What are you doing lying there on the floor? Bleeding to death like a good-for-nothing? You are useless! I knew I couldn't trust you. I should have never hired you!
At that moment, I looked down at my body. I was unharmed. I had no wounds. I stood up and ran to the exit door, where some co-workers tried to scare me again. But this time, when they saw my face, they were the ones who were scared. A few minutes later, I was taken to the boss's office, and there I met him. He was not the same boss I had met before. He was much younger and more caring. He told me that this place is haunted, and that is why the movie theater remains attractive to teenagers. He also told me that this place used to be not a movie theater, but a clandestine place used in the war to torture people. Many wealthy citizens would come and watch this sitting down as if it was a show. And the man who claimed to be my boss was the owner of the place, while the lady in the hazmat costume was his wife, who died in a fire while torturing a little boy. From that day on, I strictly followed all the rules of the cinema. I never had to interact with any ghosts, and in case I cleaned up alone and felt cold or had a strange smell, I had to leave. If I followed all the rules, I didn't have to be afraid. This was just another job.